everybody, it's John from Hot Rod Magazine, and I'm here with Steve Strope from Pure Vision Design in Simi Valley, and the host of the new show,
Hand-Built Hot Rods.
And you brought with us, this car is still in process.
This is a 1969 Nova that we are doing for Joe Rogan. And we wanted the world to see it in bare metal because that's the magic in the car, is all the metal that's been moved around.
This car is going to be on the April issue cover, and we do these things in bare metal because it's a way to highlight, like you were saying, the craftsmanship and the work involved with the team of people building this car.
Exactly. I want to make sure everyone knows that I am not an island. This is a team that does amazing cars like this, and always an honor to be here with Hot Rods, so I'm very excited actually. Last time you were at my shop, you were shooting my Buick Skylark in bare metal, and in the background was a primered Nova. It's this one before any of the work started.
And then as we walk around the car, we'll see that there's styling elements from a couple different cars. Most people probably know this, but the Nova, the second generation Nova, or third generation Nova, was actually built on mostly the architecture of the architecture, basically the underpinnings.
Yeah, the subframe, the bolt-on front subframe, leaf spring rear.
Right, of the first generation Camaro.
Right, up to 69, correct.
So it's not a stretch to say that.
It didn't seem like it at the time. Seemed like a good idea at the time.
So we'll cut to the chase now. I mean, from the front, just looking at the front, the grill,
the cowl hood.
Right.
It's a stock Nova.
69 Nova.
So far.
And then if we start walking around the side of the car, that's when things get pretty radical.
The main thing we wanted to do, or what I wanted from it, was to look like GM stamped it. Doing trick metalwork for trick metalwork's sake is one thing, but putting, for those of you out there that think, well, they took the side of the fender, a door and a quarter, cut it where it would fit right, and welded it in place, you are horribly mistaken. They have nothing to do with each other at all. And the hardest part is finding the location where it sits right, looks right, goes where the wheels are based on the suspension that's in the car, ride height, all of that came into play. Also, how do I say it? The way that the spears tip or go on a Camaro is different because this upper line here is so different on a Nova than a Camaro. So you could take it and Clico it in place and look at it and it'd go all over the place. It wasn't that simple, and luckily we had Joey on our team to work out how in the world is this gonna look right on here? How is this gonna be brought in and look like it belongs there? And then once you have that nonsense worked out, now everything, just like where the door curves around, all of that's re-engineered. Example, on the rear quarter panels, if you looked directly at the back of a Nova, the quarter panels are about like this. They're not exactly flat, but they're pretty close. A 69 Camaro, with my knuckles being the wheel opening, they sit like this. So just placing the quarter panel on, faking it on, it made the car 3 inches wider, 1.5 inches per side. Well, when that happened, it stuck out past the door jamb, and the quarter panels aren't as long from the center of the wheel back as the Nova is. So there's like 4 inches of Nova still back there. And that had to be, if here's that Camaro quarter panel, the remaining sheet metal had to get brought out to match.
But what he's talking about is,
right to about here.
Yeah, and that's where the Camaro quarter panel ends.
Stops.
Right, and so all of this from here is
it's Nova, but it's pooched out. It's brought out, heated up and brought out, because this is so much wider. And this is kind of rolled. This has a peak, so the peak had to get introduced into it, but then disappear. Right. Because this was real important to keep. We wanted Nova to stay Nova. So there's a lot of thought and planning and integration, not just the obvious incredible talent of hammer welding, metal finishing, and putting it on physically. balancing the lines and how everything lines up and works with the Nova was not, it didn't just fall into place.
I talked to him a little bit about this section, and he told me, because I asked him if he made a buck or used a profile gauge or something. He said, no, I used a torch and a hammer.
Yes. and that is somebody who's talented.
Yes, and to be able to reproduce that side to side and make them both the same. He's like, yep, I just felt it, walked over to the other side, felt it, made sure they're the same. It's incredible work.
Yeah.
It would be hard to see on the camera, but the welds here are so perfect. He told me he just took a DA and smoothed the welds out. So you can see there was no body filler, there's nothing here. This is where the car was, the parts were welded on, and no warping.
And there's a lot of things you Nova guys will notice. The Nova body line's up here, and now the body line is down here where the Camaro line is integrated. So it changes the visual profile on the side. It puts more weight down center. So there's a lot of things going on here, and hopefully people go, it doesn't look like a big deal, because that means we all did our job right.
Exactly.
But you can trust me, it's a big deal. And then in the back, that is two 70 Camaro Spoilers, because the Nova's wider.
Okay.
So we had two of them. We've changed the angle, we laid it back a little bit, didn't want it so vertical, because the deck lid is very different on this car than a Camaro, and it looked weird being straight up and down. So this will be, once it's done, that's going to be the plug for the mold. We'll make one out of glass from the mold. This is the Frankenstein, everything cut up and fiberglass together. I believe we're also going to continue this peak up to about here.
Okay. Transition.
Yep, transition up to there. So little touches. The corners have been tucked in on the bumper. They've actually been lightly filleted and then brought in. And then we'll add metal here and round it. Just keep fine tuning little things. And due to the fact that the factory frame rails that used to be right here for the leaf springs are gone, this whole area is wide open. So the exhaust comes up, tunneled into the trans tunnel, then through the IRS, and comes up above the quarter panel and comes out here. That's why the tips are in the bumper and not below the bumper. Everything's about ground clearance and being able to drive and not worry about anything scraping or rubbing.
And like the wheels and tires, these are really interesting
HREs.
wheels. And I like the shape, the spoke pattern.
I like them because they're very reminiscent of the old Fly wheel, which was on Scott Sullivan's 55 till they cracked them. They were lightweight drag race wheels. They were magnesium, if I remember correctly. So I like the cut and the shape. It's a nice, simple design. It's clean. They're extremely high quality. The car hides it well, but these are 355s, which is a big tire off the Porsches. So lots of cool stuff. Of course, bare brakes under it. There's so much going on in the interior. Though again, if you don't know Novas, you would have no idea what we did to the dash. None. But obviously Nova guys are gonna look in here and go, what the heck happened? This is a 1966 Corvair Corsa that has been split and widened almost 2 inches to be wide enough for the dash. So that speaker grille you see, from the windshield to the speaker grille, basically where the dash pad starts, that is 69 Nova still. From the dash pad out, that's 66 Corvair. The GM only guys will flip out of the roof console. The overhead console is from a 73 Plymouth Barracuda Grand Coupe.
Oh, cool.
And even most Mopar guys don't know about that overhead console.
Interesting.
And I remembered working on one about 15 years ago, and I'm like, that would look really good in here to break up the roof. So we made mounts for that and put that in. And I'm very, very pleased with the car so far. So it's gonna go back to Joey's finishing the outer wheel houses and the outer section of the inner front fenders that we've already widened. Then it comes back to us and we finish all the plumbing, all the electrical run, everything under the hood where the intercooler for the supercharger is going to go, mounting the radiator, all the finish fab. Then it'll go to Mick for paint and body.
When it's painted, it'll be back here.
It'll be back here, I promise.
Some more pictures.
You guys get first crack always.
So thank you very much, Steve.
You're welcome.